Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken appearing before a Senate Appropriations Committee today, answering questions about the COVID-19 lab leak theory. Lauren Blanchard has more from Washington.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken facing more questions from Congress today over the role a lab in Wuhan, China may have played in the COVID-19 pandemic.
This is a critical moment for the United States and for our global leadership. We have major tests, including stopping COVID-19.
On Monday, Secretary Blinken did not rule the theory out. U.S. officials have said they need China's government to provide access and data from the beginning of the outbreak in order to determine where the virus came from. But so far, China has refused to grant an independent investigation and said the World Health Organization's initial study was complete, despite international criticism.
There is going to be an increasing international demand that countries, including China, meet their responsibilities when it comes to providing information, access, and transparency on global health, including COVID.
Blinken's appearance comes amid growing scrutiny over the origins of COVID-19. On Monday, new details about a U.S. government report that concluded the lab leak theory is plausible. This, according to the Wall Street Journal. The May 2020 study came from a national laboratory in California and based its conclusion on a genomic analysis of the virus. The State Department reportedly referred to the report during an inquiry into COVID-19's origins toward the end of the Trump administration.
There are very strong clues, several of them, that conclusively point to the fact that this thing was manipulated and devised in a laboratory.
China has said they will not allow any other investigations into their labs following the WHO investigation and has urged other countries to be probed instead. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Today, the Colonial Pipeline CEO testifying before the Senate Homeland Security Committee about last month's cyber attack. But that attack is just one of many so far this year. So what's being done about it? Well, as Britt Conway reports, officials say preventing attacks comes down to confronting the problem from all angles.
Food, water, hospitals, education, transportation, gas. Ransom-demanding cyber hackers have been targeting the staples of American life.
It's happening all the time, even as we speak. There are thousands of attacks, and this is why the private sector and the public sector have to work together.
On the private side, the White House sent a letter to business leaders urging them to take ransomware crime seriously and ensure your corporate cyber defenses match the threat. But it won't be easy. There's the cost, not to mention the need for company-wide coordination. Experts say the ransomware attack on the Colonial Pipeline began with a compromised password. On the public side, a push stateside and abroad. President Joe Biden signed an executive order last month requiring new software standards for the federal government, establishing a protocol for agencies and companies to share information with the government after a hack, and creating a new panel to review cybersecurity incidents. Cybersecurity will also be on the agenda when Biden heads to the UK at the end of this week for the G7 summit. And again next week when he meets with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Many of the attacks appear to be the work of criminal gangs on Russian soil. Clearly, there's no silver bullet here, and experts worry time isn't on our side.
Before long, we are worried that some people will get hurt.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
A bipartisan report from lawmakers details widespread breakdowns in communication and security in the police response to the Capitol riot 5 months ago, and it lays out immediate changes to be made. Caroline Shively has the details from Capitol Hill.
A new Senate report lays out multiple law enforcement failures leading up to and during the January 6th Capitol riot.
What was telling to me with the intelligence community, they said they weren't able to put out a warning because they weren't sure whether or not this was related to violence or if it was free speech. Well, why were they questioning the credibility of what we were all seeing on the internet?
The report blames a series of missteps by Capitol Police and other agencies that caused officers to plan for the event as if it was just another Trump rally, even though activists were openly calling to storm the Capitol in online posts. 5 people died and more than 140 were injured.
Sadly, it was the frontline officers who were left to defend us, to defend our staff, and to defend democracy.
The report also found fault with the FBI and Homeland Security for not giving specific warnings about intelligence that they had gathered.
But leadership failed. There wasn't adequate equipment. There wasn't adequate training. There wasn't adequate protocols when it came to getting the National Guard to respond to help the police on the Capitol grounds.
Capitol Police released a response to the report Tuesday morning, saying that no agency knew that thousands of rioters were planning to attack the U.S. Capitol. The known intelligence simply didn't support that conclusion.
The report also detailed more than 20 recommendations to secure the Capitol that senators say can be implemented immediately. On Capitol Hill, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
State Republicans in Oregon asking a representative in their own party to resign. He was caught on camera, apparently helping demonstrators break into the Capitol building in December. Simon Gutierrez reports other video appears to show him planning the incident.
Yeah, we're talking about setting up Operation Hall Pass, which I don't know anything about, and if you accuse me of knowing something about it, I'll deny it.
That's Representative Mike Neerman in a video posted on YouTube speaking in front of an audience and appearing to offer access to the state capitol, which at the time was closed to the public due to COVID-19 protocols.
There would be some person's cell phone, which might be, and if you say, I'm at the west entrance during the session and text to that number there, that somebody might exit that door while you're standing there.
In the video, Neerman gives out the number, which he says are just random numbers, a total of 3 times. Surveillance video taken during a protest at the Capitol on December 21st shows Neerman walking out an exterior door and protesters immediately rushing in the open door. Last month, a group of House Democrats called for Neerman's resignation. Today, House Republicans followed suit.
The House Republican caucus has called on Representative Neerman to resign.
House Minority Leader Christine Drazen said Neerman's actions did not meet the standards public servants should be held to.
It was a decision to expose our state troopers and the occupants of the building to the potential for violence. That is not acceptable.
Video taken on December 21st and shared with Fox 12 by a House Democrat shows protesters shouting outside the Capitol and later trying to squeeze in through a window. An outside investigation into Neerman's role in the event found Neerman, quote, more likely than not intentionally assisted demonstrators in breaching security and entering the Capitol.
He randomly opened the door to whoever was outside of it to come in and allow whatever kind of confrontation was going to happen.
A retired New York police officer is dead after trying to settle a verbal dispute in Brooklyn. Police say the 57-year-old intervened in an argument between a 33-year-old man and 86-year-old man outside a pizzeria. A 53-year-old retired corrections officer also tried to help settle the matter. At some point, that corrections officer pulled out a gun. Police believe he only fired one shot, but that bullet hit the retired police officer in the torso and the 33-year-old man in the arm. The retired officer later died in the hospital. The other person shot is recovering. Investigators have not said what the initial dispute was about or if any charges will be filed. This Saturday will mark 5 years since a gunman murdered 49 people at Pulse, a gay nightclub in Florida. This Monday, the faith community in Orlando joined with the LGBTQ+ community to remember those lives lost and call for more protections. Amanda Dukes reports.
Reverends, rabbis, and pastors gathered at Joy Metropolitan Community Church in Orlando Monday to remember the 49 people killed at Pulse nightclub 5 years ago.
We want to talk about remembering the 49 to not let their deaths be in vain.
The host of the event, Reverend Terry Steed Pierce, was moved to tears as she reflected how in the wake of the Pulse shooting, faith leaders all over Central Florida opened their doors and sought relationships with the LGBTQ+ community.
From unspeakable tragedy, the God of my understanding works all that stuff together for good. And this is the good thing that has come from such a horrific thing that happened in our community.
The leaders announced their strong support for LGBTQ inclusive non-discrimination protections. They also signed a statement calling on elected officials to honor the lives taken at Pulse by creating more protections. Dr. Joel Hunter, the former pastor of a conservative evangelical Christian church, said it was after the Pulse tragedy he realized he had no friendships in the LGBTQ community, and he knew that needed to change. He also called on the community this week to join in honoring the victims.
This is about respect and an honoring of 49 lives that were dear to God. Amen. They were his children.
Amen. In addition to advocating for greater protections for the LGBTQ+ community, the group also called for legislation to bring an end to gun violence.
Still ahead tonight, more than 6 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's, but there's new hope for those in the earliest stages of the disease.
The key here is to diagnose early. If someone has mild memory changes as early as possible, that is the type of person that is most well suited for this drug.
More on the new treatment approved by the FDA and a look at how the drug works.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. Unseasonably warm conditions continue for today. We did have some rain out there as well, but we did manage to really warm up this afternoon, and it felt just a little bit warmer because our dew points are close to around 70 degrees in that steamy category. Our average high is around 77 degrees for tomorrow, and we're going to be about 10 degrees warmer than that. There will be some peaks of sunshine, but I'm expecting occasional showers and thunderstorms as well. Factor in the humidity, and when we reach 86 degrees by 3 o'clock, temperatures will feel close to around 90 degrees. But there is some relief in sight, and we'll talk more about that coming up in just a little bit. But there will be some showers for much of the day tomorrow. We have a cold front that is situated to our north right now. We have a low pressure system down to the south in Missouri, and this is helping to kick up all that moisture northward, and we're on the warm side of this system, and so those temperatures will continue to climb up. But by Thursday, I'm expecting that cold front to sag a little bit more toward the south, toward the Twin Tiers, and that's going to help to bring some of that cooler air back. Our future radar is showing it just a few isolated showers for tonight, and as we make our way into tomorrow, starting off with some cloud cover, increasing rain chances in the late morning into the afternoon, and there could be a few thunderstorms that pop up in the afternoon as well, and the activity will continue for the overnight, but I'm expecting maybe just an isolated shower or two heading into Thursday morning. But then that cold front will start to kick down to the south across the Twin Tiers, and that's going to help to bring a little bit cooler and drier air southward, and so we'll see a few lingering showers and an isolated thunderstorm on Thursday, but by Friday I think we're going to see a little bit drier conditions and a lot cooler conditions. Here's a look at your forecast. Tonight it will be mild. Lows in the mid-60s, a few thunderstorms can be possible tonight, and then just some occasional rain tomorrow. Highs around 86 degrees, both in Corning and in Elmira, a little bit cooler in Perkinsville, around 83 degrees. Remembering with that humidity, though, is going to feel close to around 90 degrees. 87, still warm out ahead of that cold front on Thursday. There will be a few showers possible, but then once that rain moves out, as that cold front passes through, temperatures will be cooling down, looking at highs around 77 degrees. Chances of rain increase again by the end of the weekend with another system coming through, but we're going to stay with a cool air, or at least seasonably cool conditions over the weekend, and then warm up to around 80 degrees on Monday with a few lingering thunderstorms. Drier conditions on Tuesday with a high of 75 degrees.
More than 6 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's, but there's new hope for those in the earliest stages of the disease. A new treatment now approved by the FDA. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither has a look at how the drug works.
For the first time in nearly 20 years,
We are making strides. We're making steps forward.
A drug to treat the early stages of Alzheimer's is FDA approved. Aducanumab will be sold under the name Aduhelm. It's designed to help those with mild cognitive impairment.
The key here is to diagnose early. If someone has mild memory changes as early as possible, that is the type of person that is most well suited for this drug.
The treatment is a once-a-month infusion, not a pill.
The goal of the drug is to slow down disease progression. Does it help with memory function? Maybe. But does it cure the disease? No.
The cost of the treatment is about $56,000 a year for a high dose. In a statement, the manufacturer said for qualified commercially insured Aduhelm patients, copay and infusion cost assistance programs may reduce out-of-pocket costs to as low as $0. But there are potential side effects.
The biggest risk of this drug is problems with swelling in the brain or even some small bleeding in the brain. One reassuring aspect is that when used carefully and when used with surveillance MRIs, brain scans to make sure that the side effects aren't happening, most people that do develop the side effects actually end up being okay.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
A Florida high school was forced to pause distribution of its yearbook because it included a section about the Black Lives Matter movement. Well, sales have since resumed, but the students say the school was trying to censor them. Hautzel Vela reports.
The most of it is history of why it's happening.
She shows us pages 16 and 17, a story about the Black Lives Matter movement inside The Edge, the student-run yearbook at West Broward High School.
They put the pause on Friday.
Yearbook editor and senior Elise Twitchell says without consulting them, the administration decided to stop selling and distributing the $90 yearbook.
I guess more parent complaints came in.
Twitchell says they were told the story was not objective because it did not include a conversation about Blue Lives Matters. But Black Lives Matter was an event, a movement in which students participated. So she says it had to be documented.
I definitely think it's censorship.
In a letter to the community, Twitchell wrote, the suspension of yearbook distribution and sales because of a page that talks about the struggles that Black people face in our world is disappointing and gross because a good amount of our student body is Black or a person of color.
It sounds like it is just basic censorship that the school is engaged in.
Summer Dean, who's an attorney at the Student Press Law Center in Washington, has seen similar incidents happen across the country.
It's well within their purview legally to determine what content they want to include and what content they think is not relevant.
Before noon on Monday, the yearbook advisor was told yearbook sales and distribution could resume. This after the district says there was a review of the content.
I know that their intent was to do the right thing. I'm just not sure that their execution was necessarily appropriate.
Trading cards have made a big comeback since the pandemic, and one Kentucky sports card store knows just how in demand they are after a brazen burglary where tens of thousands of cards were stolen. Joel Skipper reports.
They cut a 2.5, I guess, about 3-foot hole, and they scaled down.
Staring up at his destroyed ceiling, Louisville Sports Cards owner Chris Buckler still can't believe what happened inside his store around 4 o'clock Wednesday morning.
This is where they came in.
When he came into his Shelbyville Road location that morning, he thought the ceiling collapsed from heavy rain.
I immediately noticed afterwards that there's product missing from the shelves, and that upon closer inspection, somebody had taken a Sawzall of some sort, cut a hole in the ceiling, and then scaled down and proceeded to steal a large amount of inventory.
Although the store has several security cameras, Buckler believes the people who got in were experts on how to avoid the lens. Several boxes of cards were taken.
They knew exactly where the motions were. They knew where the cameras were. They knew what they were doing.
Sports cards gained a lot of popularity again during COVID as more people spent more time at home, picked up old hobbies, or went through old boxes.
For roughly $1,400.
So how much was taken during Wednesday's heist?
My cost approximately $65,400, and there's still so many products still to come out.
Buckler believes this is part of a number of similar cases around the country. He knows of at least 10 that have happened, with one Virginia card store having $120,000 in cards stolen.
And I mean, it's heartbreaking, it's gut-wrenching, it's terrible. It's all replaceable. That's fortunate. You don't expect someone to scale the walls, essentially cut a hole in the walls and just force their way in. It's new to me.
Buckler is now installing a new security system. Middletown police are investigating and looking at security cameras from nearby businesses.
To deal with a roof, I have to deal with the ceiling, I have to deal with a wall that is soaking wet, carpet that needs to be replaced. It's going to be a lot of work.
But his passion and those of his customers
Thanks for coming in, man.
are keeping the doors open
day.
during the investigation. Despite the setback, it's not a strikeout for the store.
I love this hobby, I love the community, and we're not going anywhere.
Apple is touting an update to its Apple Wallet that can store more types of keys. The app is already equipped to store car keys from some manufacturers, which allow owners to unlock and start their cars remotely. Well, a new version of the wallet will allow users to store keys to their homes, offices, or hotel rooms. Apple says a coming update will allow users to scan in their driver's licenses. The company is working with the Transportation Security Administration to make that digital copy an acceptable form of identification at airport security checkpoints. You may have seen the photo on social media. It is one of the best wildlife photos of the year. It shows a father swan on the Charles River in Boston, carrying his babies on his back following the death of their mother. Kiki Wenzel has the story behind this incredible photo.
A father swan stepping up. He was spotted ferrying his kids on the Charles River just days after their mother suddenly passed away. Matthew Rafeman, an amateur photographer, capturing the heartwarming moment with his camera.
I can relate on some level, I think, to what it's like to be kind of a new dad, struggling with a challenging situation that you need to overcome.
Rafeman and his wife have a 20-month-old toddler. He says he felt a connection.
I felt sort of a kindred spirit with this Papa Swan that was just trying to be resilient in the face of a pretty challenging life.
His photos showed the three gray cygnets huddled together while their father raises its wings on either side to form a cradle.
As I was looking through the viewfinder, I was just like blown away by that opportunity and that really cool experience I was having to see this baby swan family on top of its dad.
Rafeman says he immediately called his wife and told her it was one of the best photos he's ever taken. He says he's received so much engagement on this shot.
I think that we've gone through as a society this really challenging moment for the last 2 years. And there's something about the bittersweet element of this experience, this swan that was challenged in this way, that overcame it, but lost a family member. It's just something that I think we can all really relate to.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. A dog met an unlikely friend while swimming at a Massachusetts lake. A woodchuck. And the dog gave the animal a ride to shore. Wally, the golden retriever, loves being in the water. He and his owner were canoeing a few weeks back when something remarkable happened near one of the small islands out in the middle of the lake. That's when Wally picked up a hitchhiker. Wally seemingly taking it all in stride, or in this case maybe all in doggy paddle. Perhaps proof that dogs, or at least Wally, are more than just man's best friend. No word on if Wally and his woodchuck friend will meet at the lake again. From our whole team, thank you for joining us. We do hope you have a wonderful night.